And we'll give it hello, everyone, if you're watching this live or if you're watching the replay. Giving it a couple more minutes here before we start. Get YouTube pulled up here. Okay. I hear Tim waking Murray up from her nap. Can you hear my dog? He like goes wild every time somebody goes into Murray's room to like wake her up.
I heard something, but I didn't think it was the dog. I thought it was just Murray talking.
Dog. Every time you go in there and go near her crib, he just starts like, like, I don't know if he's just that excited. It's funny though, because like if you put Murray by the dog, he wants nothing to do with her. But like when you go into her room and get her up and stuff like that, then he's like crazy, and you think he's like excited, but then you'd like put her near him and he just like scoffs and like walks away. Like, okay.
Maybe he's just jealous and he's trying to get your attention that, no, don't go over there and talk to her.
Yeah, he is definitely a little jealous. Let's give her one more minute here. I'm gonna call Helen. Let's see here. Okay. Just looking on the Facebook group here. Well, here we go. Week 5, folks. 2 weeks left. Sad. Sad time flies. We had some fun. I saw, well, Carlene, obviously you were one of them, but we had a little, so Urban Iron Fitness is a gym that when I did my very first reset, like 3 years ago, I think, my very first one, I partnered with Urban Iron. And that's another gym, a local gym in Woodbury, and they are officially closing the doors. So they had a little, farewell party last night at what the heck was it, Carlene?
The Birdie Golf.
Birdie Golf in Woodbury. So it was fun to be able to see a few of you, for those catching the replay too, a few of you last night in person, because that doesn't happen a lot. Actually, in the beginning of the resets, we used to do a grocery store. Were you a part of them when we actually went out into the community, Carlene?
No.
Okay. Yeah, well, we used to, when I first started doing the resets, we would do a grocery store tour, which was kind of fun. And it would always go to Costco because it's just kind of the easiest grocery store to do it at, because it's just big enough and there's like lots of stuff and it's easy to like somewhat have a decent sized group and like move around, versus like Whole Foods or something when you'd be like clogging up an aisle. So yeah, we used to do Costco tours, or not tours, but just like a grocery store walkthrough, I guess. But then like COVID and stuff like that, so like we didn't really do I think this was like during COVID, I don't even remember, but then we kind of stopped doing them. So obviously most of this has always been virtual, so it was nice to see some faces last night as we drank our drinks and ate our cheeseburgers and then felt like poo this morning. So, but that's what it is, guys. Sometimes we make unsupportive decisions and we just have to own it like grown-ass adults.
Yeah.
And we move on when we move on. So that's what me, Carlene, and Bob did. I'll just throw us all under the bus right now because I watched. They're really good cheeseburgers, though.
They were really good.
They were like, I was actually really impressed with the food at this golf place. Like, you wouldn't think a golf place would have decent food, and it was actually like really good food.
I took the bun off and then put avocado or the guacamole on it. Mm.
You're smart. I did not. And here's the thing. So we've talked about grains a lot, right? Hopefully at this point, if you haven't, go try to eat some grains, right? Like go have some bread, go have some oatmeal, do something and run an experiment, right? And like see how you react. See if you, because everybody's going to react a different degree. Like I know from personal experience, and this is what just from running my own experience, that like I can handle corn okay. I cannot handle wheat. Like, and wheat is in most of our like bread products, any products that are using flour. So my poor body today from eating the burgers, but like I knew it, right? I entered into the food decision, knowing that was going to happen. And it was like, okay, it is what it is. I know I'm not going to feel that great tomorrow. This will be a nice little story to share with the reset. And lo and behold, I don't. Like I just get, my stomach gets all messed up. I can't really get my contacts in because my eyes get super dry from it. And lo and behold, I'll break out a little bit. And it's one of those things that I know. Now, if this was any other day and I had like a work the next day, I probably would have opted out of that. I'd probably been like, hold the phone on the cheeseburgers. Maybe I'm not going to do that because like I have to be able to use my noggin the entire day and I don't want it clouded because of my food choices. So that's what I'm talking about when I say we have to make informed food decisions. And hopefully during the reset, you guys have kind of figured out what some of those supportive and some of those unsupportive foods are specifically to you. And if you haven't by now, go run some experiments. I'm telling you to go out and eat something, that you wouldn't normally eat and see what happens. Because then you have that information and nobody can ever take that information for you, right? You know that, how you personally react to something. But anyways, we're moving into, I don't want my tripod to fall on here. We are moving away from the focus on food the last couple of weeks, and we're going to start talking about the other pillars of health, like sleep and sunlight. That sounds real boring. That's like not sexy at all. So there's that, but it's really important. And then next week, our last week, we're going to talk about movement / exercise. I consider them two separate things, movement and then exercise, like structured exercise, and then movement, just kind of like what we do, moving our human bodies, not being sedentary throughout the day. But yeah, kind of as I was saying, by now we should have a pretty good idea of kind of how food affects our bodies and why unsupportive foods don't really support human health. And hopefully they're out of our regular diets, right? Just like our everyday regular diets. And we kind of save some of those foods for when we have treats, like last night eating sliders at a golf thing. Everyone then hopefully you'll have your own little tidy list of what is supportive to you and what's not. And like my list is going to look a little bit different than your guys's, right? Like I know that wheat, like I just explained, is a hard no for me. I know that, I think I shared this with you guys on week 1, granola, any kind of granola, like the crunchy, the sweet, the salty, like that is just too delicious to me. So like that kind of food is unsupportive to me, whether it's made with healthy ingredients or not is beyond the point. It's unsupportive to me because it doesn't have breaks. That food causes me to overeat it. And I don't want to play that mental game with myself. So we just keep that food out of the house, and we just don't play those games. But so yeah, hopefully nobody thought this program was completely about diet. And it's funny because this is the stuff that everybody wants to skip on, to skim on, the sleep part, which is literally the foundation of health to me. Like if you had your health in a pyramid, sleep should be at the bottom. In fact, if I could start the reset talking about sleep, I would, but nobody would sign up for it, unfortunately. Like, wow, really? Like we're going to talk about sleep the first week? I would love to, because I honestly think it is equally, if not more important than the food that we decide to eat. But yeah, nobody would sign up because that is not a fun diet program talking about sleep first. So I save it for a little bit towards the end when I already have you guys roped in to my grip. So you know, everybody wants to focus on the food and the exercise, and they usually miss that huge piece of the puzzle, because they think they can kind of hustle their way, because they think they can kind of just skim through life on the sleep part. I mean, you can, but not for long, anyways. Um, Next to food, sleep is hands down the most important, the next best thing for your health. I even put sleep above exercise, hence why we're talking about it today and not next week. It's just that important, and I don't believe that you can have optimal, not even optimal. I don't think you can have good, even just basic level human health without adequate sleep. It's a non-negotiable for me. And I want you guys to also start making it a non-negotiable for you guys as well. Sleep is our time of rest, right? It's our time of rest, repair, rejuvenation. Literally all of our bodily processes, like our hormones, our immune system, our cognitive function, our memory, our ability to burn body fat, right? We talked about this last week, how we actually release body fat is we do that through breathing, and it's usually when we're sleeping. Okay, so that is why sleep is so crucial. All of those things depend on the quality of our sleep. So I love sleep and I miss sleep. Having a baby. I really, really miss sleep. I was just talking to Carlene before I hit record that I got in a nap today, and it was like the most. I'm on team nap. Here's a little plug about naps. Is he like bringing you food while
Yeah,
you?
look at he made pulled pork.
Well, what the hell, Tim? You're a shitty husband. Where are you at? Job, husband.
It's not any good though, I'm sure.
Oh, naps. I feel like naps have been like poo-pooed on for whatever reason. And I think naps are great if you can take them. If you can take a nap and it does not interfere with your ability to sleep that following nap, or that following night, I'm on team naps. Go for it. Take a nap. Usually like a 20-30 minute cat nap in the afternoon can actually be like quite invigorating for people. It just kind of like refreshes your brain. I don't know if you guys have experienced that before, where you take a nap and you get up and you like feel ready to go again. So I'm all about naps. I'm a bit of a diva about my sleep, actually. I a few years ago I suffered from really bad insomnia, and I did not sleep at night for, I don't know. It was probably like a couple of years of really struggling with insomnia, and I could not figure it out for the life of me. And my health really took a turn for the worse during that time. And it wasn't really until I kind of dialed down a sleep routine and then learned about circadian rhythms, right? I've talked about this a little bit here and there throughout the reset. Those circadian rhythms are our internal biological clock, and it's in tune with the rising and setting of the sun, and it runs on a 24-hour cycle. Fun fact, it's actually 24 hours-ish. It's not actually an exact 24 hours, which I never knew. But it wasn't until I kind of figured those things out that my sleep had gotten really, really, really good. And then I had excellent sleep, and then I had a baby, and that kind of went down the shithole for right now. But I know this is just a season of my life, and it will get better again. But it does not stop me from trying to optimize the sleep that I do get between, having to get up and nurse Murray in the middle of the night. So sleep is more than just like getting X amount of hours of sleep. The quality and quantity of sleep, but I think the quantity is probably a little bit more important. So how do we achieve quality sleep? You focus on a sleep routine, okay? The wind down, like we'll just call it the wind down routine. Saturday. Yeah, I'm a little thrown off here because we're doing this on Sunday instead of Monday. You received the weekly content, and it had some sleep hacks, some sleep tips, how to maybe construct part of your wind down routine. So we're going to talk about those a little bit. But here's the thing, everybody says like you have to get good sleep, like getting good sleep is really good for you and blah, 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 blah. But nobody tells you why or how. Like, how do you get good quality sleep, and why exactly is sleep so good for you? From a metabolic standpoint, so why is sleep metabolically supportive? When we don't sleep, let me think of how to say this. When we don't sleep, it stresses our body out, right? It's a perceived stress from our body. We talked a little bit about sleep-wake cycles, the circadian rhythm. We've talked a lot about what we do during the wake part of that 24-hour cycle, right? Cycle in terms of food, in terms of when and how we engage with food that's appropriate during that wake cycle. But what about the sleep half of the cycle? This is when all of the repair work happens when we sleep. So if we don't get that, our body is like, what the heck is this animal doing? Why isn't it allowing us to sleep so we can repair and mend and do all of the biological processes that happen when we sleep? I just think it helps. I know it sounds weird to think of yourself as an animal, but we are animals, so I don't think it's that weird. But I think it just helps to think of yourself as an animal for the sake of what I'm going to say. But an animal in the wild, okay, picture your little animal in the wild. If they aren't sleeping when they're supposed to be sleeping, something bad is probably happening, okay? There's usually a threat in the environment. And if your body is perceiving a threat and it thinks that it's not safe, you can kind of kiss any of your health goals goodbye, especially fat loss. And then all of the other repair processes that happen during that time of sleep, they don't happen, or they get kind of backburnered because our body thinks that there's some kind of threat in the environment, okay? So winding this back to sleep, not sleeping is a stress to your body, just like overtraining is, right? Chronic exercise is stress to your body. Eating a crappy inflammatory diet, that's stress to your body. Being sedentary all day is a stress to your body. These are all stressors to the human body, just like not getting sleep is. We've been sending safe signals to our body this entire reset, right? Through our food decisions, making sure we're eating an anti-inflammatory diet, making sure that we're buckling down on animal protein. Those are all safe signals that we've been giving our body because that's what our body expects, right? These are the inputs that our body expects. So when we don't get sleep, what does our body think? Okay. It thinks that something isn't safe. Something kept this animal up. And then there's this whole stress cascade that is triggered from this. So there's even research that even one bad night of sleep, one poor night of sleep increases your insulin resistance. And that's crazy to think about that. Did I talk about insulin last week? I think I talked about insulin a little bit last week. We want to be insulin sensitive, right? We want our cells to open up and let insulin and fuel come in, right? Insulin is the fuel hormone that shuttles the fuel that's in our blood into our cells to make energy. When we're insulin resistant, our cells no longer let insulin in, okay? So the fuel and the insulin have nowhere to go, so they keep raising in our body, and that's where people run into issues with high levels of insulin and then high blood sugar levels, okay? So we don't want any degree of insulin resistance, and just one night of bad sleep does that. Actually, I was just having this conversation with Tim the other day because I've noticed, because I get poor sleep several nights a week, I've noticed that my urge to eat like high sugary foods has definitely increased. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I've just never really struggled with this before. So it's actually a little bit of a learning curve for me. And then I was like, all right, Brandy, put on your like detective cap here. Like, what's happening? And I was like, that's probably it. I think the lack of sleep is just causing me to kind of, what happens when we don't get a lot of sleep too. This is, if you've ever had a bad night of sleep and then you wake up the next day and you're like, man, I just want like sugar. You know, you just like want a donut or something like that, or whatever it is. It's because, right, those are fast fuels, right? We talked about this last week. The sugar and the carbohydrates are fast fuels. So we get quick energy from it. And your body, because it's not getting enough sleep, is seeking out that quick energy. So that's why when we don't sleep that great, we have a tendency towards those high carbohydrate foods. So I think that's what's been going on with me, actually. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's hard because I can't control my sleep right now. You know, I can't just like, oh, I'm just gonna get better night's sleep tonight and sleep through the night. It just doesn't really work that way. So I've been having to problem solve how to kind of manage a little bit of those urges, which is just an interesting thing. So that is why sleep is so important. And we're going to talk about what you guys can do in the evening to kind of mentally and physically prepare your bodies, prepare yourself for amazing sleep, because it is crucial. It's a crucial, non-negotiable for health, and all of your health goals. Okay. I don't care if it's fat loss. I don't care if you came to the reset because you're sick of feeling low on energy, or if you're trying to kick your sugar habit, or mental clarity, any cognitive or performance or physical performance related goals. All of those are dependent upon sleep. Longevity is linked to the amount of sleep we're getting as well. Our mental health, right? We all know that, like multiple days of not sleeping well, most people can probably say their mood's not the best. I actually have a hypothesis. This is me just thinking and talking, that a lot of postpartum stuff for women is more due, like a postpartum mood stuff is more due to the lack of sleep than it is other factors that could be influencing it. That's honestly what I think, but I'm sure it's different for every woman, but that's just my experience with it. So all of these tips I'm going to go through right now are going to help your body de-stress. We're sending the signal to the body that all is good in the environment, that we're safe, that there's no threat, and it is time to wind down and drift off into a beautiful slumber. So how do we get quality sleep? We chill out a little bit. We set our environment up for sleep. We work on leaving the stress of the day behind, and we tap into our parasympathetic state. And all of this we can do in the little wind down routine. Quick note on our parasympathetic state. I'm sure you guys have all heard of that before, but right, we have our nervous system, and we have two halves of our nervous system. And one half is our parasympathetic and our sympathetic state. So our sympathetic state is our fight and flight, okay? Our stressed state. And then our parasympathetic state is our chill state, right? That's our rest and digest. They should balance each other. We should have some sort of balance between the two. Problem with our modern day lives, most people spend their entire day sitting in their sympathetic state. And it's unfortunate because we are not hardwired to do that. We're hardwired, right? When we talk about kind of our DNA, our ancient DNA expects us to be a little bit more chill. Okay, we spent a lot of our day just kind of like chill and calm and relaxed. And then we would tap into that sympathetic state when we needed to, right? If we needed to run away from getting killed, or if we need to run and get our prey, or run and kill an animal or something like that, where we needed to get into a high stress state in order to get things going. Nowadays, we just sit and we live in our sympathetic state because we all have hectic lives and chaotic and stressful and too jam-packed days, and we rarely tap into our parasympathetic state. And that's not good. That's chronic stress, and we're talking about why that is so bad for us in the first place. So I encourage everybody to find more ways to tap into their parasympathetic state. A wind down routine can be one of them, okay? So I'm just going to buzz through that little list that was in the bottom of that content. Number one, establish a screen curfew. Yes, I'm telling you guys all, get off our flipping phones every once in a while. This is a hard one, and I don't always get off my screen at an appropriate time. But I try to not be on a screen past 8 o'clock. That's just kind of like my personal thing. But so think about like this: the blue light that's emitted, and everybody's probably heard some degree of this before, but we have to remember, like, we are very sensitive to light. Humans are very sensitive to light. All the blue light that's emitted from screens, your TV, your laptop, your cell phone, your iPad, whatever, tricks our brain into thinking it's still day outside. Okay, here's the problem. and this kind of goes back to circadian rhythm stuff, our bodies expect certain light at certain times of the day. Okay. We wake up in the morning. During the day, our body expects a lot of blue light. Just think of what the sky looks like. This is a good way to think of it. Think of the colors of the sky. During the day, the sky is bright, right? We have a lot of blue, a lot of bright blue light, okay? And then into the evening, as the sun starts going down, the sky changes, right? The colors in the sky change. They go into oranges and like ambers and yellows. And then it goes dark, right? Pitch black at some point in time. Maybe not if you live in the city, but if you were not in the city, that's what it would look like. And then in the morning, the same thing happens, right? You get some oranges and some yellows, and then it turns into blue throughout the day. So if we're giving our body all of this blue light after the sun goes down, our body legit thinks that it's still day outside, and it's not going to start the processes that happen to make us sleepy. That it suppresses the release of melatonin, right? Melatonin is that hormone that makes us sleepy and that encourages us to fall asleep. So we don't want that. We don't want anything to suppress melatonin. So one thing, and I'm just going to do a quick plug here. If you are somebody who maybe you absolutely cannot get off. Ooh. Oh, I just closed my hair into that. Have you ever done that, Arlene? You have those. Don't do that. Don't do what I just did. If you are somebody that is going to be on a screen, because I know that's not realistic for a lot of people. Sometimes like when your kids go to bed or something like that, you want to like sit up and watch a movie or something, and that's fine. Investing in a pair of blue blockers or something along those lines. Like I have Viva Rays. The last two resets ago, Carlene won. I had, remember I told you guys I give away some free shit at the end of it. I don't have Viva Rays this time, but I have some other cool stuff. But a couple times ago, I did have these, and Carlene actually won a pair of these. But it is a blue blockers, and there's 3. Like these are just magnetics. I don't know where my third one is. I think it is downstairs. But if you're somebody who sits at a laptop all day and works, that's where these come in handy. They block like the crappy artificial light, the crappy blue artificial light. Because there's a difference still of looking at your screen, the blue light in your screen on a screen during the day versus like being outside, right? Like that's natural blue light. So it's like if you're somebody who's locked into a computer all day for work, it might not be a bad idea to protect your eyes. And then when the sun goes down, I clip on this bad boy, and can you see? You can kind of see through them. It changes everything to the hue of what like the sun would look like at that time of day. And then there's another clip on that goes on this that is a red, and it blocks all blue and green light. So about 30 minutes before I go to bed, I put the last clip on, the red clip on. So if you are going to be on screens after the sun goes down, might not be a bad idea. I did put a link. I am affiliate. Disclaimer, I'm an affiliate for Viva Ray. So if you do want to order them, you get a little discount if you order through me. What's next? Shoot for 8 hours of sleep. I don't know if there's anything magic about 8 hours of sleep, you guys, to be honest with you. I know some people do fine with a little less, and some people do fine with a little bit more, but I just think it's a nice number to shoot for. If you have no sleep goal, I think just 8 is fine. And if you don't have any parameters around when you go to bed, I think that 10 p.m. through 6 a.m. is a good start with. I go to bed around 8. I try to. I have like 8 to 5. I have a 9-hour window because I know about an hour of that I'm going to be, Murray usually gets up twice. So I go to bed with the intention of like, how fast can I get to bed so I can accumulate as many hours under my belt as possible. So mine's a little bit different, but I think that 10 p.m. through 6 a.m. is a good starting point for most people. Close your eating window. This is another one. This has to do with circadian rhythm as well. Your body is trying to wind down. Digesting food right away before you go to bed is gonna impair your beautiful sleep. I think I talked about this last time. If insulin is present in our body, melatonin cannot be. I did talk about this last time. But this is why we close the window, not because I think that there's anything crazy about eating later at night, but it does affect our melatonin production. So if we are eating close to bedtime and all of a sudden your body detects that there's fuel in your blood and insulin has to swoop in, melatonin is going to be like, hey, yo, you don't obviously need me right now. This animal is staying awake for whatever reason, and melatonin is going to go back down. So, and just kind of what we talked about from that circadian perspective, like your body has little need for fuel, for food later in the day, right? Because we're supposed to be chilling and winding down and get ready to sleep. So if you're eating a bunch of food later in the day, into the evening, into the night, your body's gonna be like, I don't understand what this human's doing. Anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. That's kind of a big chunk of time. But if I had to give you a suggestion, I don't like to put parameters on things like that. But if I had to, I'd say 2 to 4 hours before you go to bed, if you can close your eating window. If you're hungry, eat, right? But if you're chronically hungry at night, something tells me you're probably not getting in enough food during the day, and you should probably be working on that. But if it's for whatever reason, like you're winding down and you get hungry, right? We answer hunger with food here. We don't try to white knuckle hunger. If you are going to eat, if you maybe want a little snacky snack, you're watching a movie, you want to sit down and watch something, make it mostly protein or fat. I think that's a good parameter to have. Carbohydrates are going to affect your insulin response the most. Protein and fat tend to have a lesser insulin response than carbohydrates does. So if you are going to eat at night, you're probably better off with protein and fat. I'm like a charcuterie person. I love charcuterie. We had charcuterie last night too. I filled up on charcuterie first before I smashed my burger. But yeah, I love charcuterie. So if we're gonna have like a snack later on at night, I love like good like aged meat, and some cheese and stuff like that. So yeah, close your eating window. What else? Tap into your parasympathetic state. We just kind of talked about this. Enter the chill state. Stop working. Stop working. Stop doing stressful things. Don't go hit a hard workout right before you're trying to like go to bed. Don't read a self-help book where you're going to be sitting spinning your wheels. Don't try to work or study. Don't get into like a huge blowout with your husband or your partner or whatever right before you go to bed. Have you ever done that? Because I have. And you can't sleep. Like I you get so worked up, your internal body temperature raises because you're angry or upset or whatever, and you can't get back to sleep. That's one thing. Your core temperature, your internal body temperature has to drop 1 to 3 degrees in order for you to fall to sleep. That's important to know. So that is why it's important to sleep in a cool environment. I think that's somewhere on here. I'm getting ahead of the game here, but make your bedroom slightly cooler. Okay. I even know people like in the winter, sometimes they'll crack their window a little bit. We set our thermostat at 67 or 68. I like it cold. Murray's room is cold too. But yeah, that's because our body temperatures have to fall in order for us to enter into deep sleep. So make if you've ever tried to sleep somewhere, when we go up to Tim's parents in the summer, this was the first year they got AC. Previously, they did not have AC. And in the summer, it was a struggle to sleep sometimes because it would get so hot in the upstairs bedrooms. And like, I'm sure you guys have experienced this. Like, it's very hard to sleep when it's hot outside just because our bodies are not designed to do that. What else can we do? We can dim the lights. Dim your lights. Go around your house. Dim your lights. Use yellow or amber lenses, right? Either these or bulbs after sunset. Everybody laughs when they come into my house after the sun goes down because it's dark. I wonder if you guys can see this. Can you see that a little bit? Yeah. I have these red light bulbs. So they're in our bedroom and then downstairs in the living room. So when the sun goes down, like we don't use overhead lights or anything anymore. We'll turn on these and like you legit, I'll still never forget the first day Tim came home from the gym and it was like 8 o'clock and it was in the winter, so it was dark. And he came, and I just got all these new light bulbs, so I switched them out downstairs. And he came home and he's like, opened the door. He's like, what the hell? Like, I can't see anything. And I'm like, that is the point. Like, it's nighttime. We're not supposed to see anything. We're not supposed to be doing anything. You know, that helps us kind of tell our body that we're preparing for sleep. So using things like that. I also, like, this is what I use in Murray's room, because when I get up in the middle of the night to nurse, so I can see, so it's not just like super dark. I use the brand Bon Charge, BON Charge. So all of our light bulbs are from them. And then these, and which I have one over there too on the nightstands, they just tap, and you can increase the red light intensity. But I'll just put this on like this when I go into Murray's room, because this red light, you guys, I should probably say, like, why red light at night? That doesn't make any sense. Red light does not disrupt our sleep, okay? It doesn't affect our melatonin production. So if you do need to be up at night, using a red light bulb is probably going to be your best guess. When Murray gets a little bit older, and if we need like to have like a night light or something going on, they have little night lights too that are just red toned. So it's like you can still see, but it won't disrupt, it won't affect your sleep. You can still fall asleep and stay asleep just fine. So yeah, make your environment, your house, you know, if you can stop at least using overhead lights, and maybe you just turn on like little table lamps or little task lamps, things like that. That's a good idea. What else? Go for a walk outside. Now we're rolling into the season where it's like light until 9 o'clock. So it's great. It's not great when you're me and you're trying to go to bed at 8, and I'm like I have blackout curtains in my room, but they don't go all the way around my, like the ends are still open. So I need to fix that. But go for a walk. The natural sun, getting into that natural light, getting that natural sunset rays, the light perception into your eyes, right? We have hundreds and hundreds of little light receptors in our eyes and on our skin. So this can also encourage your bodies to start producing melatonin. And it makes for good family time. You know, maybe you strap the kids in a little wagon and grab your husband or your partner or whoever, and you take a little stroll. It doesn't have to be long, 10, 15 minutes outside after you eat dinner before the sun goes down. Nice little family relaxation time, instead of, sitting on a screen or something like that, or play a game, read a book, something. Create a sleep sanctuary. I kind of just talked about making your room slightly cooler. You want to create as much absolute darkness as possible. Create as much quietness as possible. Have some nice bedding, make it comfy, whatever it is. Keep it clutter free if you can. I feel like I'm just throwing products at you guys. The only thing I'm an actual affiliate for is the Viva Rays. I just like to share other stuff because I think it's important. You can buy this on Amazon, and it's blackout tape. So if you do yourself a favor, go into your bedroom tonight. When it's dark outside, turn off all the lights and look around your bedroom. I bet you're going to see tons of light still. Like your little phone charger, I bet it has a little light. If you have like an AC unit or like a fan, it might have a little light. Some of your little plugins to your wall might still emit. Maybe you have an alarm clock or something like that. You can get this tape and cut it off in chunks, and you can cover your lights. Like this is what we do in Murray's room, because some of her plug-in stuff, like her camera, like her baby monitor, that camera has a light on it. So we just go through and cover up all those little lights. That sounds super fussy, but I promise it's not. Our bodies are super, super sensitive to light. So any detection of light, especially blue light, and that's usually what's going to be in your room, can impair your sleep and mess with your melatonin. So there's that. What else? Keep your phone out of your room if you can. This is a hard one. I did this for a really long time. I don't do it now. So yeah, I'm not perfect with all this stuff either. I definitely sleep with my phone next to me. But I did go for probably a pretty solid year with keeping my phone out of my room. A lot of people would say, well, like, I use my phone for the alarm clock. It's like, you can go to Walmart and buy an alarm clock for $5 and put it on your nightstand. That's a terrible excuse that will not work with me. But I think it's awesome. I think it's a game changer. It's actually quite nice to end your day and start your day not on your phone. Like, how many of you wake up, you roll out of bed, and what is the first thing we do? I challenge you guys. I try to go at least 20 minutes in the morning without opening my phone. Some days are better than others. But here's the thing about the light that on our phone. This blue light that your phone emits is similar to what our solar noon, I'm going very sciencey on you guys, is similar to the frequency of light at solar noon. So at 12 o'clock in the afternoon is the time where the sun is the highest point in the sky. It is usually the brightest, even on a forecast day, right? Because the sun is still there. We just can't see it. The light from our phone is similar to that light. So if we wake up in the morning and all of a sudden we jump on our phone, our body's like, I guess it's 12 o'clock. And that's not good. We don't want to do that because that really confuses your body, your body's internal clock. So if you can at least stay off your phone, you know, first 20 minutes and get natural light as soon as possible when you wake up in the morning, you're golden. That was the last one, I think. Actually, get sunlight as soon as you wake up. You guys have probably heard this. I feel like it's buzzing around social media now. Everybody's just like, oh, the perks of getting morning light, like get outside and get. And it's funny because I've been talking about this for 3 or 4 years now about the importance of getting the right light at the right time of the day. Okay. And I thought everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody thought I was kooky. And that's okay. I'll be the kooky one. And now it's floating around social media like everybody and their mother is posting about how important and how beneficial it is to our health to get morning light as soon as we can when we wake up. And it's interesting because if that light signals to your body to stop producing melatonin and start producing serotonin, right? There's kind of the yin to the yang. Melatonin goes up at night when we're trying to get sleepy. Melatonin goes down in the morning. Serotonin, our happy, our feel good hormone, neurotransmitter, starts to go up. And that happens from the signal that we get from the morning light. The morning light is actually what resets your circadian rhythm. Okay. So it actually resets that 24-hour internal biological clock that you have. And in order to do this, you have to get light within 3 hours of waking up in the morning. Now, that doesn't mean that if you can't get outside for whatever reason within 3 hours of you waking, that you shouldn't just go outside all day long. Any natural light that you can get all day long is great because our body is expecting that natural light all day long. But in terms of resetting your circadian rhythm, it has to be within 3 hours of you waking up. Felt like there was something else I was going to say on that. I think I have a podcast, you guys, that's going to post in a couple days. That talks a little bit more about this. And the last thing, you guys, have a morning routine. Okay. Carlene, I feel like we've talked about this before. We laugh at all these like, what are they called? Influencers, social medias, where you read about their morning routine and their morning routine is like 2 hours fucking long. They like wake up, they meditate for 20 minutes and then they go journal and then they sit in the sauna for 30 minutes. Don't do that for 30 hours. And then they sit in, their
You have to cold plunge.
Yeah, then they cold plunge and then they get in front of their red light for 10 more minutes and then they, do a happy dance and all. And I'm like, who the hell has time for that? People that don't have full-time jobs or that their job is social media, I guess, or have a nanny for their children. I don't know how that works. I'm not asking you guys to do that. I'm just asking you guys to take 5, 10, 15 minutes in the morning and just do something nice. Do something that is nice, something that is calming, something that is relaxing to you. Even if that's just sitting with your cup of coffee for 5 minutes before you have to get going. Deep breathing, journaling, like whatever your calm is. I try to read or I try to meditate. Some days it works better than others if Murray wakes up earlier than anticipated. You know, maybe it's you just sit and stretch, or you sit and cuddle with your animal, whatever it is. Just try to do something nice before you pick up your phone in the morning. So pick a couple of these things and incorporate them into your routine. We don't have to do all of this, okay? We don't need perfection here. I don't want to stress you guys out by thinking you need to have some like 2-hour wake up and then 2-hour like wind down at the end of the day, because nobody has time for that. But just something. Can you stop working a little bit earlier in the evening? Can you take a walk? Can you dim the lights in your house? Can you read a book instead of scroll social media? Just something that helps you tap into that parasympathetic state right off the bat in the morning before life happens, right? Before the chaos and the stress of your day happens. You already have a little surge of cortisol that happens in the morning. That's another thing that happens. That's actually what wakes us up. Our body temperature increases, and then we get a little surge of cortisol, and that's actually what helps kind of lightly, gently wake us up in the morning. So it's like, imagine, and there's nothing wrong with that. Imagine you get that cortisol spike, and then all of a sudden you have to jump out of bed and you're like balls to the wall for the day, right? You're rushing out the door, you're trying to get ready. Like you've already now you're in a stress state, that sympathetic state, and you're going to probably ride your entire day in that state. We don't want that. So find some time in the day to tap into that calm state. Actually, I was just listening to a podcast. I'm almost done here, actually. Actually, it's almost 6:00. Never mind. I thought it was like 5:30. I don't know what I might have been talking to you about this, Carlene. I was listening to a podcast a couple weeks ago, and it said the number one, well, actually, two things. 40% of people fall asleep with the TV on or a light, with a light or a TV on. My husband is one of those people, and it drives me fucking nuts. I'm like, Tim, like this is disrupting your sleep. And I'm going in, biochemistry on his ass, telling him all the reasons, and he just won't listen. He's a lost cause. But I find that crazy because that's a lot, and that light, like, humor yourself. Try to follow. We don't even have a TV in our room anymore. We took the TV out, I think, on like the second reset that I did. We took the TV out of the room, and we have not brought it back in, which has been great because, probably shouldn't be sitting on screens in our bedroom. But the other fact that I thought was interesting, the number one sleep disruptor is sleeping with your partner. Like sharing a bed. Did we talk about that? I think maybe I did on social media.
Wasn't there a podcast on that we went back and forth on that?
Yeah. And like, I'm not telling anybody like you need to go kick your partner out of your, like, whether it's a husband, like whoever, wife, whoever. But if you want to, go for it. Tim and I do not sleep. We haven't for a really long time. We have not slept in the same. That started out when I was pregnant because I was just going through some like wonky sleep, and it was much easier for me just to sleep by myself. So I would sleep downstairs on the couch and he would sleep in the bedroom. And then Murray was born and we would do shifts, right? So one of us was up for 4 hours while the other one was sleep. So like then we weren't sleeping together. And then we just never came. Then it had been so far gone at that point in time. We've tried to sleep in the bed together a couple times, and it just like we can't. It's interesting because we can't really sleep anymore. But yeah, that was the number one. And then pets in the bed. And our dog, of course, used to sleep in the bed with us, but now the dog sleeps downstairs with Tim. Tim sleeps on the couch. I sleep on the bed. And surprisingly enough, like we actually sleep much better being apart. Because we both kind of have our own ways. If you do sleep with somebody in the bed, the tip that they gave you is to have separate blankets. So you don't have to share a blanket. Yeah, because it like wakes you, you lose some of your covers and you have to like pull it back in the middle of the night, and then you start to wake up. So I don't know. I did a poll on social media about this, about how many people slept with their partners or slept apart. And surprisingly, I think it was pretty like 50-50. Some people even have separate rooms, which if we had an extra room, we would probably do that. So Tim wouldn't have to sleep on the couch, but Murray's in the extra room now. If she's not in the room with me. So we just don't have that capability. But anyways, I thought that was really interesting. Okay. Obviously, a lot of people are going to catch the replay. The last thing, there was a document, there was a something that posted this morning called a perfect day circadian edition. Usually I go through that, but I just run out of time. Everybody read that because I think that is so valuable. And that is like, if your body was perfectly in tune with the rising and the setting of the sun, this is what your body would be doing all day long, kind of like what your biological clock would be doing all day long at certain times of the day. And I just think it's really neat. So it's like the more you can shimmy your life to meet what your natural circadian rhythm is, the easier, the more nice things feel. Okay, like your health thrives. Things that felt hard just don't really feel anymore because your body's just really in jive with that kind of with your natural flow. But yeah, that's going to take me too long to go through that. So just make sure you guys read through all that. If you want me to link any of the light stuff, like the bulbs and the glasses and stuff like that, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week for our final thing. And next week, I will probably pick some of the giveaway winners. I have some, I'm not even tell you, because you have to join the Zoom. I think I might do that. Like if you're not on the Zoom and I call your name, you're shit out of luck. I might do that. Do that to you guys. So yeah, next week will be our final Zoom call, and we're going to talk about exercise. So thank you guys. Thank you, Carlene, and I will see you guys in a few days.
Bye. Hey, can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Your red lights, can you read a book with your red lights on?
Mhm.
You can still see. Okay. Because I've always wondered that if I'd be able to still read.
But I mean, it depends if, like, I don't know, are your eyes really bad?
They're not really great because I'm 20 years older than you. So it's when you get to that point and you can't see anymore, you'll be like, holy shit, that is true. Like one day you're like,
I think
what?
that's why Tim's 8 years older than me, so I think that's why he thinks so much, because he can't see around the house as much when
Yeah.
like the lights are dim. I think they're bright enough still to read. I read every night. Like if you can see it a little bit, I just tip the light up a little
Yeah.
bit so the light is more shining open rather than like the task lamp, because I can shimmy the lamp heads.
Right.
But like this might be a better, because you can
Yeah.
and you can make it super
Yeah, that is
bright.
good.
And like, I mean, I can read like my paper exceptionally well right now. And
Because I've
this
taken my phone and I'll turn the flashlight on my phone to just kind of keep it down by my book, and because I can't see quite even with the little light I have.
yeah. And it's like, if we are using our phones, turning the screen light down as far as possible is helpful. There's also, and Tim is actually the one who showed me how to do this. There's also a way, and this also has to do with if you're somebody who catches yourself scrolling, like fixating on social media too much, you can change your phone tone to black and white. Have you done that before?
I haven't gotten used to that though.
I know, but it does
weird.
make it less desirable to scroll, because things aren't they're not as interesting. It's not as sensory overload for our brains, because that's part of the reason why we
It probably doesn't hit your dopamine, like it's not giving off your dopamine on that.
exactly, like it really dampens those effects. So sometimes I'll turn it on if I just like, if I want to be on my phone, but like I know I'm gonna get too like, you know how it is. You're sitting on your phone and all of a sudden you look at the clock and it's like 30 minutes later and you're like, what the fuck?
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, I want to drop it. I want to just drop some of the social media. Like I can't do it.
I know. I wish that, I mean, health coaching, obviously this requires me to be on social media. And do you remember I tried to like do Sundays free social media, and you guys like, I think I managed like one Sunday, and then I would simply forget. Like all of a sudden I'd be outside walking, I'd be talking, I was like, oh shit, like it's Sunday. And like my black and white brain is like, oh nope, I already like messed it up for the entire day, so I can't like get off social media now. But that is a goal of mine when the reset is over, is to pick one day a week and have it social media free, because I get burnt out sometimes, like sitting and talking, blah, 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 but that's also how, I have to build the business. So yeah.
Right.
But yeah, maybe try one of these out. I think it was like $45
Okay.
or
Yeah,
something
maybe I'll
like
try
that. And it comes in a couple different colors, and I like it because you can just kind of like move it around, and it's wireless,
Oh,
which I love, because now we can bring it like when we travel, because that was a huge thing that we ran into traveling with Murray. Like, what if we get an Airbnb or something somewhere? I don't have any control. So like if I'd have to get up in the middle of the night and nurse
right.
with her, sometimes I'd have to do it like in the dark, or I'd have to turn on a light, and like that then she wakes up and it's a whole disaster. So now this, you just you charge it with a USB, and it stays for like 7 days or 14 days.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then yeah, it's pretty neat.
That is cool.
We might get some more of these, like for just around the house to have at night and stuff like that. And you can do red light ones for night, or they have different like light colors like to use during the day that aren't so hard on your eyes and stuff like that. So
Good. Okay.
okay. All right,
All right. Good
Carlene,
night.
have a wonderful evening, and I will chat with you all later.
Bye.